viewers, you join me at the Faithless Forum with Rudy Bee, aka ExCultBaby. They have a wonderful YouTube channel which you should check out, linked below. We also have Telltale, aka Owen Morgan. This is effectively the ex-Jehovah's Witness corner of the self-declared ex-Jehovah's Witness corner of the Faithless Forum. So, what do you think, or what do you make of the forum now it's over?
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely amazing. I was one of the planners, and as such, it was so incredibly stressful, making sure everything went okay, you know, making sure the coffee was out there for everybody, and the dinners were coming together, and just everything was very stressful, but it went so well. I was so happy with how everything turned out. I think it was worth it, and the most valuable part, in my opinion, was coming together with all of these creators, finally meeting them, because it's my first time meeting you in person, for example. So I think it was absolutely amazing, definitely worth it.
And Rudy?
Oh, it was wonderful. This has been such a great experience. When we went to Faithless Forum in 2019, it was awesome, and my at the time boyfriend, now my spouse, was saying, "Oh, you're going to be on the panel next year. You're going to be a speaker next year." And I said, No. But here I am, and this community is just so awesome and coming together and really supporting each other. And it's great meeting you in person for the first time, even though I just feel like we already know each other. But you know.
Yeah, this is the first time all of us have met in person, isn't it?
Well, not us. We met in 2019,
met in
previous one, but yeah, first time
the other one. They were shunning me, obviously. And of course,
just a soft shun.
This conference with many talks by different speakers has taken place over a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. A little bit familiar, isn't it?
It is a little bit. Actually, a funny thing. I set the schedule originally. I wanted to start at 9 o'clock, and Thomas was like, "No, we can fit one more thing, and let's do it at 8 instead." I was like, "It's a bad idea. Look at the Jehovah's Witnesses for an example, and you'll know they start at about 9:30. They start the music at 9:30. 9:40 is the song and the prayer usually. So, anyways, Jehovah's Witnesses have it down pat, for better or worse.
Yeah, I didn't make it on time for any of the days.
Right. Well, that's the thing. You're not held to a strict schedule with this. It's kind of an in and out thing. You know, you come as you please. They're not forcing you to come and sit down and listen to every single talk. It's not bland and dry and all that stuff. We try to have fun with it. So.
And if you fall asleep, nobody gets offended.
Right, exactly.
And it's not dogma, it's a conversation, isn't it? I mean, most of it has been panels with people just freely expressing their opinions, and even members of the audience having an opportunity to express their opinions.
Yeah,
and some of the panelists disagreed with each other.
Yeah.
And that was still fine.
Yeah, no one threw anything
right
that we're aware of. So I wanted to just briefly talk about apostasy, because I feel as though apostasy is obviously heavily related to atheism. It's almost a component, depending on your religious background, of atheism, but it's kind of its own thing, isn't it? And not all atheists, I feel, really get apostasy. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I would say that's fair. Although apostasy seems to have almost a different meaning and tone to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses than everybody else, because it's like a new low, a new level of evil to them. One that I wear as a badge of pride. Of course, I'm sure you both do. But yeah, it has its own unique meaning among Jehovah's Witnesses, I think.
Yeah, I think that you can usually tell when you're hanging out with a bunch of atheists which ones were not actually raised in a religious background, which ones were raised secularly. They tend to be a little bit more flippant about religious people, religious thinking. Oh, that's just some sky daddy nonsense. It's just delusional. It's obviously silly. It's well, yeah, it seems that way now. It's really easy to say that now, but...
And obviously, you can be an apostate without being an atheist.
Right.
This is the thing. So it's almost it's an answer to a completely different question, isn't it, almost? So do you feel as though the compassion element can sometimes be lacking when you don't actually have the lived experience of what it's like to be in particularly a cult? You can be a little bit more detached from the problem of, how do we engage meaningfully and respectfully with people who are in cults?
Yeah, I can definitely see that being a problem. Apostates are commonly painted as like this vitriolic, angry set of people by Jehovah's Witnesses. And to some degree, I think that, we are all angry. We're really upset over what happened to us, being mistreated and abused and lied to our entire lives. So yeah, rightfully we are angry. But Jehovah's Witnesses take it that extra step further and try to play off this, already existing feeling that we have and blow it way out of proportion. So I think it's something that most atheists probably experience, not just apostates, but atheists too. This vitriol and anger and upset at being mistreated. But you're right, it is an answer to a completely different question. There are apostates out there who aren't even atheists. So.
Yeah. And I'm thinking as well, there could be people watching who are atheists, and they could be sympathetic and thinking, well, I want to be an ally here. How can I be more understanding when I encounter people from religious backgrounds, be they atheists or believers, who are outcasts from their religious community because they don't believe any more that particular set of beliefs?
Yeah.
I always think, in any case of trying to be an ally to a group of people, listening and not talking over them, it's one of the most important things that you can do. Just saying, I'm here and I want to hear about your experience, not necessarily listening with making any judgments, just listening and maybe asking, well, how did that make you feel? I mean, getting a better understanding of it from somebody who's been through it instead of making your own assumptions.
Yeah, and also, 100% agree with you on that. I feel like sometimes, I think that maybe the apostasy movement to some degree is smaller than the atheism movement. So bringing them in as allies is really important to kind of get help from them, build the movement, make it something bigger than it currently is. It's very important to work together, basically.
Right, because even going from a more destructive religion to one that is less destructive or not harmful or whatever is still an improvement. It's a vast improvement. If you go from maybe a cult to some sort of spiritual practice that isn't, like a hard religion or anything like that, I'm sure that that's way less harmful to that person and their life, and including those people in our allyship is, definitely would help the apostate cause.
And in the context of trying to engineer a more secular society, it's almost a lost opportunity, isn't it, to not bring those voices into the conversation, because it's all very well, debating the existence of God philosophically. I mean, I'm very grateful for the videos I watched when I was first challenging myself on religion, period. Watching Christopher Hitchens and all these other speakers, it was incredibly insightful. But thinking about it, none of them were bringing in, and here's an example from someone's lived experience of how this stuff really, really hurts. And surely lived examples are a way for people to connect on a human level, and that's what apostasy brings to the table.
Yeah, that's a good point. Something else interesting about this is when you leave Jehovah's Witnesses specifically, you don't necessarily stop believing in God. Like, I still believed in the religion for 4 years after leaving. I was 18 when I was disfellowshipped, and I still believed it all the way up until like 22 years old or something. So maybe atheism and atheist-related content, that may not be the best way to go all the time. Like, we should probably create videos and talk about apostasy in general with atheism on the side, so that people can come in and, you know, listen to the arguments and understand what we're saying and not have to question that gigantic thing in the corner, you know?
That's honestly something that I really like about your content, Lloyd, is that you make a lot of videos that are like, well, even if you believe the Bible, there's still plenty of contradictions between the Jehovah's Witness religion and what the Bible actually says. Whether or not you believe what the Bible says isn't even relevant to that. But if you are a Christian person and your desire is to be a Bible-believing Christian, Jehovah's Witnesses still isn't the way to do that.
I do feel a little bit, I mean, this goes back to what we were saying earlier about it being two different answers to two different questions. I feel like I have to wear two hats sometimes, because I understand the argument of those who say, well, you know, when you're first taking those first few tentative steps out of the Jehovah's Witness religion, do you really trust someone who is an avowed atheist and trying to turn people away from God? So I try to be mindful of that and take the position, you know, let's have a conversation about this and you draw your own conclusions. And I'm not going to live in dread that, you know, theists and believers will be watching my videos. They're welcome to, you know, and I think we can have a respectful dialogue.
Yeah, that's actually something I think I've kind of encountered with some of my content is some people comment basically with the assumption that I'm trying to deconvert people. Like, well, don't you want everybody to be an atheist? And I'm like, no, that's not really my goal at all. That's not something I have ever been invested in.
Yeah, with my content specifically, I started out talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, and as time went on, I started talking about extremism more generally. I wanted to understand what brings somebody to be in a cult, and how cults like control people and things, and also how extremist movements are co-opted by leadership, things like that. Excuse me. So to accomplish my goals here of eliminating extremism, we need Christians to work with us, more moderate Christians and others. And that is why I specifically try to take a more moderate approach, not attack anybody, not hate anybody for anything. And generally speaking, this is just my approach, but not mock Christians or make fun of them for being idiots or any of that stuff. I try to work with them to accomplish a common goal. That's just my approach.
Yeah, I feel we're coming at this from a position of security. When you're insecure, you're going to resort to the ad hominem, and you're going to polarize. You're going to throw up walls. But when you're secure about your position, and you know, it's not like we're trying to save people from some kind of hell or anything. I often say I don't lose a wink of sleep if someone decides they still need to either be a believer in God or a Jehovah's Witness even. It's just that, you know, these are conversations that we need to have, and at least the information's available so that you can draw your own conclusions.
Yeah, my days of converting people and evangelizing are far behind me. That's not what I'm invested in anymore.
Absolutely agree on that one.
So that's pretty much where I wanted to go with this conversation. I think it's been really helpful. Just to wrap up, if there are atheists watching this who, again, want to be allies to apostates, what would be your message to them?
Seek out the stories of apostates. I mean, there's tons of great YouTube channels and podcasts out there that just serve to highlight stories of people who have left religions. And not all of them are even, you know, tragic, traumatic stories. There's a variety of stories out there, and, you know, all of them can be heard, you know, get some nuance in there a little bit. It's, you know, I've met lots of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who have told me, you know, I didn't have a traumatic story, I wasn't traumatized, but I still saw that it was wrong, and I left. And, you know, those stories are just as valid, and hear people out, basically.
Yeah, I think my message would be we should do our best to bring in a larger audience, a larger group of people to work with us to deconstruct something that is really, really harmful that we see taking place. You know, in our case, our shared case, it was dealing with the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses and trying to deconstruct the strangleholds they have over their members. For the broader atheist movement, for example, we can work against, you know, deep red Pentecostal pastors who still hate the LGBTQ community, who still want to eliminate gay marriage and all of the other things that come with being just completely out there, like genuinely dangerous group of extremist Christians. So if you want to be an ally with us, do your best to work with us, alongside us, to try to deconstruct the more dangerous and harmful elements of what we're dealing with.
Very well said. So thank you so much to both of you. Again, massive privilege and honor to finally meet you in person. And yeah, we'll hopefully meet again in the future.
Yeah.
Viewers, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the Lloyd Evans channel for more such videos. And as always, thank you for watching.